Hi, I'm Jennifer Bardot, and I'm excited for you to be here with us today, Jeanet Wade, on our Grit Talk Show. She was a contributing author in Growth, which was the second anthology in the Deconstructing Grit collection. So before we get started, I'm going to read Jeanette's bio so you can get to know Jeanette a little bit better. So Jeanet Wade is focused building health and teams and has healthy bottom lines. She is an expert as an EOS implementer and is featured on the Forbes book as an author. She's a top 100 St. Louis needs to know to help grow your business for the St. Louis Small Business Monthly, and she was featured in the Entrepreneur, Forbes, and as well as Market Watch. So thank you for joining us today, Jeanette.
Thank you.
Our first question that I'd like to ask for you is, in regards to GRIT, which of the acronyms really resonates with you? Growth, resilience, intention, or tenacity?
Well, I know when you first came out with this series, it's like, I want to be in growth. I want to be in growth because growth really resonates with me. And not just growth for growth's sake, but because I think if the constant changing world, you have to constantly be looking at and driving towards how you're going to adapt and change and grow. And in my chapter, I was don't grow it alone.
Right.
And I'm really thinking about how impactful people in your lives can be to help you grow. So that's why I would pick growth.
Well, tell me a little bit more about your work as an EOS implementer.
So as an EOS implementer, I'm in my 11th year of doing it. So I've helped close to 150 businesses get what they want from their business. What we focus on is healthy, cohesive teams that get traction and accountability towards a vision together. And so making that impact in the world at these entrepreneurial companies has been a passion of mine for a long time. And now I get to see it proven out every single day.
That's incredible. So you're literally living, breathing growth for businesses, and you've made a tremendous impact in your last 11 years serving in that role. So what are some of the strategies that you utilize to really help your businesses go to that next level and continue to grow?
What we do with them, in addition, EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, is a system we teach them. But teaching is just one part of it.
Right.
A lot of what I'm doing every day is facilitating and coaching them. And facilitation isn't just getting through an agenda. Mm-hmm. Facilitation is about getting them to conclusion and decision and getting through and coaching them through the tough stuff. So really asking the hard questions that they need to have answered for their business, for themselves, not allowing them to avoid, because a lot of them have fear of decision-making, of what's going to happen next in the economy, and getting them out of that fear into a place of action and solving. And so my coaching is about, hey, I got to tell you the things I'm seeing and what I'm reading in the room as a leadership team, where you might need to think about going next and what questions you might need to answer to get there to be a healthy, cohesive team that really does get traction on that vision.
That's incredible. So it really sounds like you're that support system that looks at everything holistically and definitely leans into those hard conversations. So what took you to this role? How did you have such a passion for growth yourself?
Well, I've been on leadership teams myself and worked for large companies, small companies, family-owned businesses, and we've all seen the chaos. Mm-hmm. We've all seen the lack of clarity, and especially in family-owned, we end up with this family dynamic that sometimes can cause toxicity in the workplace. It's entitlement, or it's ego-driven, or it's dictator-driven. It just depends. It's not only family businesses that experience that. I've been on leadership teams many times, and my last gig I had ended up being a really tough business to be part of. Being on the leadership team was hard. It impacted my health, my well-being, and I had to seek something else out. And so I ended up finding that there was a better way. There was a foundational thing that most businesses were missing in order to get what they wanted. And the key was put the love in it, that you had to solve the human problem first. You had to give them clarity. You had to make connection, and you had to create confidence in people. And challenging them to do that every day has brought me tremendous joy, because now I can see the things I was missing in previous engagements that now I can help businesses solve. Typically 6 months to 2 years, they've turned it around.
That's incredible. And I mean, the alignment with growth and the heart on the shoe, it was all about leading with the heart. And obviously, as you serve, as you shared, you're a servant leader, and you obviously lead these organizations with compassion and heart, but step into the hard truth. Yeah. So that's incredible to have that previous lens and really help those businesses grow. Yeah. So your bio is incredible. I mean, Forbes, entrepreneurial. How did you step into those roles and create those opportunities for yourself as a leader?
Part of it was, when you continually do the right thing and you don't do it for ego's sake, I never sought those things out. I never purposefully try to write a book. I never intentfully seek out those opportunities. But when you're doing the right thing, good things come your way. It's that law of reciprocity. The more you give, the more you get. And I really believe that's how it happened for me, because I'm not actively seeking those things. In fact, when I got the top 100 St. Louisans to know in business, which is, by the way, the longest title.
She's on the cover too.
Yeah, I was on the cover 5 years ago.
Yeah, but you're still on the cover.
Still the cover. I had no idea how I got selected, and then I was asked, how'd you get the cover? I was like, I have no idea. Just if you give enough and you help enough people, that's really, to me, what I'm driven for. And I think that's what grit is, right? It's what you're driven for and what's your why in the world and the thing you're going to push most against. And for me, that's always doing the right thing, doing it with love, and not worrying about myself in the process.
That's incredible. And I hear you're passionate about that as well. Very that selfless mindset, but always about growth and helping and contributing. So what are some advice that you would give other leaders to, embrace who they are and have that growth mindset?
I think a lot of leaders forget that the ability to grow or the ability to make decisions or make change in their business many times just requires them just to take a shot. They just got to give it a go. Yeah. None of us are great at most things.
Right.
Most of us that people see as successful got there because we just kept trying. We gave it so many shots. I forget, there's so many analogies to this. The famous baseball player who struck out more than they hit home runs, all of that. I think it was Babe Ruth, but there's lots of analogies around that. And it's the same thing. You got to give some things a shot. It's what Dan Sullivan, I follow strategic coach as well, would call give it the 80% approach. If you do something, just get it 80% there and give it a shot. The next iteration you do it, you're going to take that 20%, do it 80% even better. And then the next iteration, by the third shot you've taken, I think it's like 99.8% there. That's almost perfect. And so you just got to keep moving, give it a shot, and everyone's going to be there to support you. I think I didn't realize that when you take a chance on something, there are more people rallying behind you than not.
Absolutely.
And that they will help you through it. I mean, I've had people prior to interviews go, hey, in fact, prior to this one, take 3 deep breaths before you go in. I've done many interviews, podcasts, studio, et cetera. And still I go, oh, what am I going to say?
Yeah.
I'm going to take a shot.
Yeah. Even with your bio, it just shows your humility. So tell me more about your book.
Yeah, my book is, and I know you wanted me to show it, so it's Human Team. And this ended up being a passion project. So I am an expert EOS implementer and an EOS trainer for many of my colleagues at EOS Worldwide. But what I found was my passion was really about activating human potential. And there was a missing gap I was seeing in not my EOS implementation, but in work and other workplaces, in that they were doing a lot of things to nurture outcomes, pizza parties, et cetera, et cetera. This is all pre-pandemic. And they were doing a lot of things just to nurture outcomes, spending a lot of money on training programs that were going nowhere. So they hit 90-day spikes of this worked, and then suddenly it would flatline. And what I found was that they were also getting frustrated by the nature of people that showed up, because the subtitle of this book is, you created a team, but people showed up. It's kind of tongue in cheek, because we were like, I'm going to build this organization and all this team. And then you're like, oh, I got people to manage. Like, they're crazy, they're quirky, they're humans. They have human moments. And what I found was there's actually some science behind and psychology behind going from nature to nurture. It's when you get your needs met. And Maslow had it partially right, but it was an individual journey to self-actualization. I think it's a team sport. So I created the 6 facets of human needs based in science. And I brought along a psychologist to help support the book, Dr. Patricia Bagsby, and if she's out there, hello. But to kind of validate the science behind it, that when you get 6 main needs met on your team, you can truly activate their potential.
That's
and
incredible.
Really, people as a multiplier. Jim Collins is known, I think it's his Business 2.0 book. He has this map. And in his map, he says, the only multiplier in business out there is luck. And I almost went toe-to-toe with him on LinkedIn one day and said, I don't think that's the only multiplier. I think people are the multiplier. People are the ones who know when to take advantage of good luck or bad luck events, know when to have the grit and tenacity and the adaptability to move forward. And so if you can just tap into their humanity in a very purposeful way, you can do almost anything together.
That's beautiful. And I love that team aspect. And that's essentially why I want to do these anthologies too, because there's just a whole nother layer when you can do it together.
Yeah.
So where can they find your book?
So my book is on Amazon. the human team. So he created a team, but people showed up. And my first name is Jeanet, Jeanet, last name Wade. So you can find it on Amazon. My website, business-alchemist.com, also has my speaking engagements and book information as well.
Wonderful. So if a small business owner wanted to reach out to you and learn more about EOS, they can contact you on your website?
They can go on my website or out to my EOS website as well, eosworldwide.com/Jeanet-Wade. But I do link to it from my Business Alchemist site as well.
Okay, wonderful. And if there was one piece of advice you could give somebody in regard to having more of a growth mindset, what would it be?
I would say start with coaching yourself. Sometimes you're your best coach and you don't listen to your gut. And also, I think sometimes we misunderstand that being a business leader, a manager, a boss is all about coaching, having a coaching mindset. We think we have to do all this special stuff, but if you think about the best coaches you've ever had in your life, they push you, they ask great curious questions, they challenge you in new ways, and it's not always about performance reviews and clarity of job description. A lot of times it's about just asking the right question at the right time. But first, start with you. I always, every day, start with a question for myself. What am I going to get out today? Or what am I going to be most grateful for? Or who can I challenge? Or what impact can I make? Those questions prompt me to move forward and do something different every day.
That is a cool challenge, and I have not heard that before. I always say you're only in competition with yourself, but I've never actually challenged myself to ask myself a question before, so I'm going to start implementing that. So thank you so much for joining us today. It was incredible to be able to have time with you and learn more about your work and see all of your success. So thank you for joining us on the Grit Talk Show.
Thanks, Jennifer.